So I wanted to talk about this book today, Not Wanted on the Voyage by Timothy Findley, and it follows Noah and his family, and in a very different kind of story that I'm not exactly sure I quite understand the point of. Um, it's the story of Noah and his family. Noah is this pretty evil old dude that doesn't really that's just doing all he can to try to please God, who turns out to be this really old, decrepit man too, but still is God. But seems to the story tries to play him off as just a human trying to peddle himself as God, as this elderly man that's barely at the age of right at the age of death, pretty much, riding around in a coach that people are throwing tomatoes at, going through the cities. But then he also does cause the flood at halfway through the second act or third act of the book or whatever is the flood. So I'm not exactly sure what the point of the story is. Noah is also portrayed as doing useless things, like all the prayer and stuff is not being answered and all this type of stuff, and nothing has happened, nothing is really working for him. But he's like this crazy old scientist guy that's always taking creatures from his farm with his wife and all that stuff, and doing experiments on them, killing animals and doing all the sacrifice and stuff, taking all their favorite singing lambs. They have singing lambs that the Noah's wife. They just keep calling her Mrs. No Yes. I don't know if No Yes has much of a significance. It sort of tries to tie it together near the end of the book and saying that, well, she is constantly having to say no when she means yes and stuff like that around Noah. He's abusive, neglective type husband, father type person. And there's some confusing things about the kids too, like Ham and Japheth and excuse me. There's an Anna or an Emma, and I think an Anna, a Hannah. That's a Hannah. I'm not sure how many, and Ham, the name of one of the boys. I know some of these names are in the Bible, but some of them I'm not exactly sure of. It's been a while since I've read Noah's story. At some point, Hannah does get pregnant from Noah's baby. Hannah's one of his daughters, I think, or at least one of his son's wives. And at one point, one of his sons has his skin dyed blue by these local bullies in town, and he tries all the time to wash it off, but his skin is still blue. I don't know if that has anything that comes from the Bible, or from the Bible story or not. A lot of the stuff that he added some modern influences too. Like they're living on sort of a farm that's more reminiscent of something from, Little House on the Prairie or the Waltons type thing, an actual farm, and with a rocking chair and all these types of things. And it's quite a confusing story. It mostly follows the wife, Mrs. No Yes, I can't remember if she has a name. She probably does. It just says Mrs. No Yes. And her cat named Mottle. I'm not Mottyl. I'm not sure if her having a cat was ever mentioned in the Bible either. Again, this is stuff that he seems to add arbitrarily. I'm not sure if he's saying there's a message to this, as if there's some sort of political message, or if he's just trying to say, well, what if it happened like this, which I guess is more like it. But some of the things he writes seem like he's trying to make a point, but then he says something that completely counters the point. Like I said before, God is portrayed as this meager, just little old man that's almost dead, and just traveling around the world, and people are pelting his carriage with tomatoes and fruit and stuff, and people don't like him when he comes to town, and he's pissed off and he's fed up with all these people not following his message, and eventually Noah shows him some magic parlor tricks because God visits the farm, and God and Noah, just wants to entertain God and bring him wine, and God has two cats named Sarah and Abraham, and this one trick that Noah does. He places a bottle over a bottle, like a Coke bottle, over a coin, like a penny or something, and like puts a penny down, puts the Coke bottle on top of it, or alcohol bottle. I don't know, it's a Coke type bottle. And then once he pours water into it, the penny appears to disappear, and that gives God the idea, if I put water on it, it'll all disappear. And that's where the flood idea comes from Noah's parlor trick in this story. And it involves one of the sons marrying a daughter from another family, and the daughter from the other family had a sister that was born a monkey, apparently. And that was the shame of the family, but they didn't kill the monkey like Noah ordered them to or something, or that the people are typically ordered to kill their babies if they're, deformed or whatever, according to the story. And they probably did back in those days. Well, not that Noah actually was back in any days, but being a 900-year-old person. And they pretty much demonstrate that in this too, because he's elderly and he's near the brink of death himself. It's kind of just a really confusing story. It just follows some of the events and follows some of the characters, and you really get to like the cat, the half-blind cat, and the mother, Mrs. Noyes, because she's always caring for everyone. She's always trying to make sure everything's, she's the fighter for freedom pretty much in the story, and Noah's pretty much the man who's always trying to take control, always trying to make sure his family does whatever will please God, no matter how much suffering he has to put on his own family to do it. At some point, he even locks all his family into the bottom of the ark with all the bigger creatures without any light because they had an uprising. There's also an interesting character, Lucy, this fallen angel, who comes to stay with them in the garden and on the ark. Obviously a reference to the devil. Lucy, marries one of the boys, one of Noah's sons, and they don't really find it all that weird until later on she sort of morphs into a different form, not really devilish, just sort of gray-skinned angel type thing, and she's also one of the main fighters for freedom in the book. So I appreciate that, being like the opposing of God is freedom, and following God is slavery. That's just always been clear to me. And so a book saying stuff like that also is kind of funny. It's good to know that people think like that too. But again, I'm not sure if the story has any purpose, because God did turn out to make the flood, and it's not just some sort of, that just rained for a long time. The raindrops kept changing colors and changing consistency and being like tar-like or purple or green or red or something like that at different times of the flooding. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the point of the book is, but if you want an interesting read, try Not Wanted on the Voyage by Timothy Findley. I believe I said Not Wanted on the Ark earlier. Otherwise, I'm going to be trying to try to start to read this one again. If you can read that, it says God, a Biography. I started reading it back in high school. I found this at the mall book flea market type thing that they hold every once in a while, just a whole giant bunch of tables sprawled all over the mall full of used books you buy for a few cents or $1 or something. That's where I bought this, God, a Biography. It basically goes through the Torah. Apparently that's the Moses, the story from Genesis to the end of Moses' story. I think that's what it is. I haven't read it in a while. And it goes through discussing all the different personalities of God as they are through the different books. Like, he's a very schizophrenic God, or he's multiple characters. When they call him God, he's the benevolent creator, the creator of the universe. When they call him the Lord, he's a punisher. When they call him the Lord God, he's the supreme punisher, and stuff like that. And he's more angry and more centric on the people, whereas if he's just God, he's more concerned with the universe. But the Lord God is more concerned about punishing people type thing. And it goes through the stories, and it goes through the origin of where God came from as one of the Babylonian gods. But again, it's been a while since I've read this book specifically, so I'd like to try to read it again, and maybe I'll do a little book report on it too. It'll be hopefully more concise or whatever, informative than this one. But that's because this book just confused the fuck out of me. I don't just because I don't know what its purpose was. The animals, some of the animals can talk until the voyage is over. There is a unicorn, and there's a lot of ugly things that happen in this book. Unicorn's horn is used in a way that, yes, the way that you're thinking, but in a very disturbing way, not in a fun sort of way. And Noah does it. Noah does this to the unicorn and the person that in the question, to prove a point, to do something to that. I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, it just enforces more of that slavery mentality. Follow me, follow my orders, follow God's orders, or else we will, commit evil violence on you, because, the good guys are the ones who say that, right? But yeah, I guess that's about it. I don't know what else to say. I'm going to try to give a book report on God, the biography, if I ever get through it. I know it was a lot of text reading. Back then I couldn't really read a lot of nonfiction because, I'm just into fiction. I just want to read a funny, good, flowing story. I'm not good at reading data, but I have read The God Delusion now, and Michel Onfray's In Defense of Atheism, and Sam Harris's A Letter to a Christian Nation, and so I can digest that stuff better now, so I'm going to give it another try and let you know what it's all about. Let me know if any of you know of this book, and see if you have any thoughts on it.